You can go ahead, Elisa.
Okay, thank you. I will go ahead and call to order the August 31st special board meeting of the Ames Community School District Board of Directors. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beerbaum, seconded by Perez. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Passes 7-0. Director Shields Cook, will you please read the purpose statement?
The Ames Community School District commits to equity and access that empowers every individual to reach their full personal and educational potential.
Thank you. I will go ahead and read the statement covering our public forum. Residents of the district, students attending the district, parents or guardians of students attending the district, and district staff members may address the board about any topic relevant to the district, whether on the current agenda or not. Those who wish to speak must sign up at the beginning of the meeting. Speaker participation is limited to 3 minutes once per item. The views and opinions of citizens addressing the board do not necessarily reflect those of the board, district administration, or staff. Speakers are to remember that Iowa law prohibits the board from discussing specific employees, students, or their performance. Student speakers will state their name, or in school, others will state their name and address. And just as a reminder to all of our participants, if you will please raise your hand and I will call on you. Eric will give you permission to speak. And if you can please keep your comments to 3 minutes, we would appreciate that. So we will go ahead and go with Karen Walters. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
You're on, Karen. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. First of all, I wanted to thank the school board for your service and all the time and energy you've been putting into the difficult decisions that we've been facing with this pandemic. And as a parent of a fall sports player at the high school, my heart is breaking for all the athletes and band members who will be sidelined because of the irresponsible and self-centered behavior of a subset of our population. I have watched our volleyball players choose to wear masks even when not required. At our first away game against Hoover, on Saturday against numerous teams, and even on the sand courts while having their pictures taken. They have shown incredible maturity and responsibility by doing all they can to stay safe and protect each other. So please know that when athletics can resume, you can be assured that they will continue to represent Ames High with the utmost dignity. I also wanted to discuss that I understand the recent metrics in our county as the reason for this special meeting and will result in going 100% online. What I would like to address is that moving forward, as the numbers hopefully decline, I would like to see a proactive approach towards what we can do to expedite the return to in-person learning and extracurricular activities, and not let's just wait patiently until the numbers fall all the way down and stay down for 2 weeks. I think with the resources of our emergency management coordinator, we can look into large group testing, pooled testing, and wastewater testing. We should pay particular attention to how other school districts have opened successfully in our own county, state, and throughout the country. Like we have all had to do since this started, we should continue to remain open-minded and flexible, even if it means revising our current algorithm. We must not be guided by fear, but by what is in the best interest of our children's education, and even more importantly, their mental health. And then today, Dr. Winterstein sent out an email just late this afternoon, and there's a quote from Dr. Alex Ramirez, who is serving as the faculty advisor to the public health team, and he shared the explanation of the high numbers Iowa State is experiencing. And his quote is, while the percentage of positive cases among those tested is relatively high, the actual number of positives is small when considering the entire campus population. Because the university is taking a targeted approach to testing, it is minimizing the risk to others. So I would like Kathy Arnold to maybe take that under consideration and use that in considering other future decisions and metrics and how we consider them. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Sandra Donald, you are up.
Hi, yeah, sorry about that. I was just walking in the door tonight. First of all, thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to, I emailed out a letter that I sent to Mr. Heights at the Iowa Department of Education. He is collecting information on fall sports when the students have to be all online. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys a summary because I know you have a lot in your inboxes and it's hard to go through and read all of that. Basically, what our stance is similar to Ms. Walters, that the swimmers and other athletes have been very good about following all the rules, not complaining about those, going above and beyond to make sure that they're keeping themselves safe in a community that is, has this subset of college students that we share our life with. And really that it wouldn't be a lot different being online than it would be the summer sports with baseball and softball. And I totally we understand the premise that if the numbers are going up in a community that we probably shouldn't be doing sporting events, but considering that the large number of positive cases are happening on the Iowa State campus, that kind of gives a different view. I know Iowa City is going through a very similar thing. So I just wanted to let you know that several of us have shared letters and our thoughts with Mr. Heights. And he has responded back to me already today saying that he appreciated our concerns and would definitely share that information with the governor's office. So mostly just wanted to kind of let you guys know that we were doing that. We certainly don't expect him to fix all of our comments or concerns, but really kind of focusing on these fall sports. And these students really are not the positive cases and that they are doing a fantastic job of following all the rules above and beyond. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Sandra. Would anyone else like to speak? Please raise your hand. Looks like Ryan and Laura Jensen. Go ahead.
Hi, I just wanted to say, this is Laura Jensen at 1510 Tappahallow Road. My husband has diabetes and really bad asthma. And as somebody who loves somebody in our home, we have a 5- and 6-year-old. We are so excited to get our kids back to school, but we so appreciate the caution and the way that things have gone about in the department. So I just wanted to say, as somebody who is directly affected by the potential of COVID turning negative in our home, I just really appreciate all the caution that you guys are taking for the health and safety of everybody there. And that's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Laura. Would anyone else like to speak? I want to make sure that I'm giving plenty of wait time. All right. I'm not seeing any other hands coming up, so we will go ahead and move to our single action item this evening, and I will go ahead and entertain a motion.
Pursuant to ACSD's COVID-19 decision-making matrix and the Iowa Department of Education metrics, I move the board approve a motion to an educational delivery model of 100% online instruction in the required continuous learning model beginning on September 8th.
Second.
It's been moved by Shields Cook, seconded by Perez. Discussion.
I was wondering if if the board would like to hear from Dr. Arnold, if
Please.
that would be
Yeah,
okay.
That
All right.
would be great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Arnold.
Sure. From the questions from Friday as well as statements from today, I think it might be helpful to do just a very quick review of our metrics, a little detail about them and how we got here. Just first, there's no central guidance for school reopening across the country. Each state is left to determine their own metrics for school opening. And Iowa has recommended metrics, and based on guidance from the Ames School Board and local feedback, we created our own locally based metrics to guide decision making. To start, for our data, all of it is calculated over a 14-day period to control for day-to-day variability. The first metric we use is positivity. Our current 14-day positivity is 21.3%. At this current positivity level, we meet the criteria for the Department of Education and Iowa Department of Public Health for 100% continuous online learning. Over 20% positivity does not require us to also have a student absent rate greater than 10%. So at this point, this is not even us using our own metrics, but actually using the state's metrics. Our metrics recommend online learning for greater than 10% positivity. The metric was determined by using guidance from the World Health Organization, CDC, US Surgeon General, and Dr. Fauci, who is our director of the director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Why this metric is important, why we even look at positivity, is according to Johns Hopkins, a high percentage of positive tests suggest high coronavirus infection rates due to high transmission in the community. A high percent positivity can indicate it may be a good time to add restrictions to slow the spread of disease. We also look at case rate. The current case rate, which is an average number of new cases per day over the past 14 days, is currently at 69.9. This number has been converted to a rate to 100,000 people, and that's just to allow comparison on a national level. Story County's population is just a little over 97,000, so it's pretty much, the adjustment to that number is minimal. The metric was actually chosen because the positivity rate can be greatly impacted by the number of tests. And what we wanted to make sure is that we had additional information to understand the rate and presence of active coronavirus infection in the community. For references, case rate is used to determine school openings in Minnesota. Their revised guidance recommends distance learning for all students when the 14-day average is greater than 50. New research from the Harvard Global Health Institute recommends distance learning for all students when the 7-day new case average is greater than 25. Our current 14-day average is about 70 new cases per day. An additional data metric just to throw in there that we can evaluate is the rate of transmission, and this is one that Des Moines Public Schools also has included. This number lags due to how it's calculated, so it's about 5 to 6 days behind. Our most recent rate of transmission is from August 25th, and that is 1.65. And just as a reminder, on that day, we were at a 9% 14-day positivity and 46.3 14-day new case rate. The RT, or rate of transmission, is a key measure of how fast the virus is growing. It's the average number of people who become infected by an infectious person. If the RT is above 1.0, the virus will spread quickly. When the RT is below 1, the virus will stop spreading. Our rate of transmission will be going up since it is a value that lags by 5 days once you incorporate our current data. And one thing also that was asked on Friday were some more defined local projections. So over the last 14 days, we have averaged about 320 tests per day. There's no information that would make me think that we're going to have a vast change in the amount of testing. We may actually have some increases due to the Test Iowa Clinic site opening here in Ames today. So here's some scenarios. If we assume that last week's high positivity numbers are a fluke and not actually a trend of actual coronavirus activity in our area, using an average of 320 tests per day, if we have over this next 7 days, 35 positives a day, which was that average for the previous week. In 7 days, our positivity rate would be 19%, and our 14-day positivity would be around 11%. So if we maintained where we were the previous 7-day period prior to last week, that's where we would be. If we see a 25% reduction in new cases over the next 7 days, our positivity rate in 7 days will be 18%, and our 14-day positivity will be around 8%. If we see a 50% reduction in new cases, so things are really getting better because people are starting to adhere to what they're supposed to do, our positivity rate still in 7 days would be 17%, though in 14 days it would be down to 5.2%. And that all assumes that last week's numbers are an anomaly. Our average of new cases per day last week was 102 per day. Basically, a rough estimate, depending on the number of tests per day, is we would need to see a positivity rate of 5 to 8% per day, starting today, to see a positivity less than 10% 14 days from now. So just in summary, thank you for letting me give these explanations, but our metrics are evidence-based. They are sourced from a variety of governmental and academic sources. They were chosen with a goal of student and staff safety. Additionally, from a reference point, our ACSD metrics are in alignment with other local states' metrics, including Minnesota's and Missouri's. And with all that said, again, our current data recommend that and meet the Department of Education, IDPH, and governor's guidance to recommend moving to an online, 100% online remote continuous learning as a district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arnold. Any questions or comments from board members?
If there's no questions, I have a couple things I just wanted to point out.
Go ahead.
Okay, I didn't know if we'd given
Sorry.
a
No,
long
go
enough
ahead.
wait
Go
time.
ahead.
Okay, so one of the first questions that I know has come up that I want to make sure the board is understanding is the question about sports. And so sports and activities under the Department of Education, if we go to continuous learning 100%, online, sports and activities are eliminated for the time that we are in that model of learning. And so we get approved for a 2-week period of time. We have submitted for the permission. It doesn't mean we would have to go into that model if the board chose a different path, but it is an option that we would be approved for once we receive that approval. That being said, there is some discussion out there wanting to make sure that you are aware. There's some discussion between Iowa City, Des Moines, and us with legal around the injunction. If we were to be granted our injunction, that is really a hold harmless type of a deal. And so would that mean then that we would still be able to participate in athletics during that online model? I think, when I think about activities and athletics and the risk that brings, I think there's a lot of risk when the crowd is involved. So I think there are ways to take mitigating efforts on that end. The other piece of that, I would say, there obviously is risk anytime you're bringing large groups together or groups of students together on a regular basis in close contact. I do really want to commend our coaches, Judge and his team, and our athletes, because as you heard tonight, I think they have stepped up and they have acted with complete, just with grace and with just the mindfulness that we would expect in adults. They have shown that as young adults. And so I'm very, very proud of our students and how they have responded to the mitigation efforts. So those are a couple of things. It's really not a decision. I want to be sure that you know, and the public knows, it's not a decision that the board gets to make when they choose to go 100% continuous learning remote. That is not a decision you get to make. It's been made by the state. But you know, I there's pros and there's cons, and I appreciate all the feedback from the community on that. Having been a former high school principal and an athlete and a coach, I certainly understand the value of athletics and activities for students and what that brings. So please know that this is not an easy recommendation for me to make because I know the results of this on those programs. And so I say that tonight because it isn't easy. And I hope that this gives us a pause. If the board approves this, I hope it gives us a pause for 2 weeks so that we can then continue and have a great rest of the year. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that also I've had questions around return to learn. And so once this 2 weeks is up, if our numbers are down and we come back to the board with a recommendation, would that recommendation be for a phased in or for a hybrid model? I've said all along that my job is to go by what's approved by the board in that decision-making matrix, the decision-making matrix that we developed. And so I would use that to guide the decision at the time. And so that most likely would be a hybrid model, but the board has the ability to then go into any model they want to. So I think just knowing those two things might help you be able to answer questions from the community or our listeners tonight. Those would be answers I'd be able to provide to them as well. So I thank the board tremendously for their dedication and their work and the ability to think through these really difficult decisions. Dr. Arnold, I thank you for keeping us really, I think, ahead of where many districts are because we have somebody who is focused on doing this work and being able to inform us. So thank you for that. And the last thing I would point out is, unfortunately, we talk about this amongst the superintendents often, but when you're looking at how an area district is able to take mitigation steps and build their plan, it's much different when you're looking at the number of students we have versus the number of students per class or per grade in other surrounding smaller districts. So we have to deal with the fact that we have large populations in our buildings that are already overcrowded. So that takes a lot of mindfulness and a lot of commitment to making sure we make good decisions, and we'll continue to do that.
Superintendent Reisner, can I ask a clarifying question, please?
You bet.
So you keep using the time frame of 2 weeks, and I understand that the Department of Education is giving the permission on these 2 week spans of time. At our last meeting, Director Shields Cook, I believe, asked or expressed a preference that we start counting the 2 weeks from September 8th when school starts. And I'm not hearing you saying that. I'm hearing you saying 2 weeks starting tonight.
I apologize.
Can you just clarify what you mean for me?
You bet. I apologize. No, that 2 week period of time would start on September 8th. Yes. Thank you for clarifying. We would get our approval within the next 48 hours or less than that now, 40 hours. We would get our approval, but that approval is set for the first day of school and then 2 weeks out. And then we would revisit that again. Yes. Thank you for asking for that clarification.
Thank you. That was helpful. I appreciate it.
Alan, were you going to ask something or did you get it answered?
I was going to ask the exact same question Monique just asked.
Okay. Great minds are thinking alike then.
I must have been unclear on that, so I apologize.
Oh. Any other questions or comments from the board members?
Yeah, I would like to make just a real quick comment. I guess what I would say is there are 330 people, attendees on the call tonight. I think that's the largest it's been this whole time. My inbox is horribly filled with emails. I will respond to everyone, but I understand how important this is and how upset people are at the idea that we are now in the position where, not only can we not have in-person school, but now we can't have sports, and I want to just speak to the frustration that many parents and caregivers are feeling. I'm upset too for your children. I don't have any children that play sports, but I'm upset for your children. None of this is fair for anybody. And I'm sorry that this is where we are. I appreciate the emails. Even as Superintendent Reisner said, it's actually not even up to us, right? It's what the state is requiring. It's parents' jobs to advocate for their children, and seeing our families do that, even though it's doesn't seem like there's really much options. I appreciate that you're reaching out, that you're sharing your frustrations, and I just share them. And I wanted to just note that I'm hurting with you, and I'm sorry that this is where we are.
One thing I wanted to say, I've been thinking about this a lot over the weekend, right? I mean, just like Director Binkin said, none of us want to do this. I kind of just took some time to write down a quick thing just so I'll read it out here, but I was just trying to put my thoughts together for the other board members, and I think a lot of us are thinking the same thing. I don't want to do this. None of us do. I have kids just like the rest of you. They need to be in school. They need sports. They need activities with other children, and it's hurting my kids every day to be away from school, just like I'm sure everybody else in the community. But it's important to understand the scope of the current situation, and I think Dr. Arnold explained it very well. We're not just barely over some local line we set. We have over 100 new cases per day on average the last 7 days. And if you look at the guidance from the medical experts like the NIH and Harvard Global Health that Dr. Arnold referenced, they say if you're greater than 25 cases, that's a hard red line for uncontrolled spread. And at that point, they recommend stay-at-home orders to prevent expansion. We're currently 4 times that in Story County. This isn't simply being a little bit over. This is something we have to get ahead of. Otherwise, the entire rest of the semester could be at risk. So said another way, in approximately the last week, we've had 1,000 new positive cases in Story County. That means 1% of the entire population of the county tested positive within about the last week. That's going to have significant impact on the community, no matter whether they're students on campus, off campus. We personally know of staff that have kids at home. There are a lot of people that this is impacting right now. And I know we've gotten letters and comments from the community on this topic, and we often hear about how responsible the students have been for following safety protocols to ensure they can protect themselves and others. I thank them for that. I'm proud of what they've done. At the same time, I'd speak to them and say, we as board members have a similar responsibility back to them. We have to do what we can do to protect not only the first 2 weeks of school, but the rest of the semester. If we don't follow that same level of safety that we're asking of them, what type of example are we setting, I realize that this has very real impacts for the beginning of the year, but it seems like the only responsible thing we can do is take action to protect the remainder of the year. I assure you, this isn't an action any of us want to take or would take lightly, but we must do it to be responsible to our students, staff, and community. And I hope as you look at what's happening in the community right now with what the city is doing and what Iowa State's doing and everyone there, the community needs to really work together to get control of this before it expands any further. So, please help, wear your mask, get tested if you're exposed or feeling symptoms, and help out any people you can that are helping to keep us safe. The only way we're going to get through this is if we work together so we can get the students back to school as soon as we possibly can. I hope and pray that when we do that, thing that Superintendent Reisner just said and reevaluate, like on September 21st, I hope it's under control. I hope it's just a fluke, but we've got to get ahead of it. So that's where I'm currently sitting.
I really appreciate both of your comments because you have shared the things that have been going through my mind all weekend and really monopolizing all of my thoughts today. To the parents of the kids looking at having to take a pause in your activities, I know that pain and I'm hurting for you. For the students and the student athletes that are representing us so well, thank you. We are all so proud of you. The picture we received today of our student athletes choosing as a team to wear masks speaks volumes of you as individuals. And so please understand that when we have these discussions and we have to make these incredibly difficult decisions, we are doing it in a sense to serve you as best as we can, even when it means that we have to make these really difficult decisions. I appreciate, Dr. Arnold, your presentation in laying out the level of concern that we are at. I do not like to be an alarmist, and I am not, but we do need to respect this as a community, and we need to step up and do what we can within our control. I know that there are other entities within our community that are stepping up as well to do their best in trying to get through what is hopefully a blip. So this is not easy, but I really hope that we will be able to take this pause and get into our semester and get our kids back to their activities, get them into the classrooms. It hits home. I get it. I have kids clamoring to get back into the classroom, and having my conferences with all of the teachers today, I understand the desire and the need for so many of our kids to get back into the classroom. So it is, this is a difficult one, but a necessary one in my mind.
My kids miss their friends, they want to be back in school. I think everybody's kids want to be back in school. For some kids, it's a safe place. For some kids, it's food that they may not get elsewhere. For some, it's the social aspect or, the exercise, the sports, the camaraderie from that. I don't think anybody doesn't want our kids to be back in school. This is not an easy decision for any of us, but and I'm so proud of the volleyball team and the swim team and everyone that's taken all of these precautions already. I'm so proud of you. That's wonderful. We can't control what other people are doing though. And you wearing a mask is an amazing step towards helping protect other people. But if you encounter a team or you encounter fans or somebody that isn't wearing a mask, that's still putting you at risk. And that's a risk that at this point is way too high for any of us to consider right. So yeah, this isn't an easy decision. My kids really miss school too. I'm there with you.
I don't think I can add anything other than what my fellow board members have added. Thank you. Thank you so much for your genuine concern. I see it. And to the parents, to the district, and to our littles, our students, our student athletes, I see you. I see you, I hear you, and we're all in this together. I would echo what everyone has already said. My heart has just been hurting all day, reading all of your emails. And like Director Benkin said, I haven't had a chance to respond to everybody, but I will. And I hear your concerns and I share your concerns. And I wish that we weren't in this situation. Unfortunately, it's not something that any of us have control over. And I do want to echo what Director Beerbaum said about the Iowa State community. There is a lot of overlap between the district and the Iowa State community. There's several of us board members who are faculty and staff at Iowa State. Many of the faculty and staff at Iowa State have children in our district, and some of them have tested positive for COVID. So it's going to cross those boundary lines, and we just have to take all of the steps that we can to protect everyone in our community.
I don't have much more to add, except I think like many of you, I'm tired. I thought back in March when we had everyone at home and everything shut down that we were going to conquer this beast, and we haven't. We haven't conquered it, and it just keeps getting worse. And the disappointments that we have to lay on our children keep getting bigger. But what I keep telling myself is that kids are amazingly resilient, and we're setting them up for success in the future to be able to deal through disappointment and deal through something that's as horrific as this is. And I hope that the numbers will change dramatically over the course of the next 2 weeks, that we can get our kids back in school where they need to be.
Any other comments? All right, it's been moved by Shields Cook, seconded by Perez. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Nay. Passes 7-0. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Perez, seconded by Linkaitis. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Passes 7-0. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.